Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, Jay, here to talk a little bit about the verses that went down with Omarion and Mario. It was like a couple weeks ago. I wanted to talk about it initially, but didn't. You know, was having some computer problems, and then Fourth of July came up. But we're finally here to talk about it. Omarion and Mario. Now, this was just like the other verses, a celebration of music from the early 2000s. Mario was one of those artists in the early 2000s, especially 2002 when he came out with his remake, his version of Just a Friend. Um, and then later in 2004, 2005, when he came out with You Should Let Me Love You, he was one of those artists that he defined that era. So was Omarion. Um, it really wasn't the real 90s era that a lot of the verses are geared to, but it's not the new era either. It was like, I would say 2001 to like 2000, 2001 to like 2005 or 6, that era. So going in initially, I'm like, I like Mario more. I'm predisposed to like Mario more because I like those songs. How do I breathe and stuff. And I liked him on in the movie Freedom Riders, and I also liked him in uh, some of the other acting roles that he did. I didn't really. I just found out today that hey Lisa, I just found out today that he was in Empire, but in Freedom Riders especially, I liked him because I liked that movie, and I feel like he had um, good acting chops. But unfortunately, due to the Vlad TV interview, which I'll put a link in the description box to, he never really pursued that. And as far as Omorion, um, it didn't really come. It didn't really. I never really liked Omorion. I never really liked B2K. Um, uh, uh, so yeah, Freedom Riders, Freedom, not Freedom Riders, least like that. Freedom Writers, like writers, like you write something. Uh, yeah, it's starring Hillary Swank in him. But again, I didn't like Millie Morion. I never really liked B2K. I felt like when B2K came out, it was kind of corny. It kind of skipped over the boy band era. The boy band era was already over. They already had Drew Hill. They already had Blackstreet. They already had Boys to Men, which was the original, both black music and white music. Um, and that boy band era was kind of over. B2K really didn't appeal to me at all. You know what I mean? But uh, so already going in, I was gonna like Mario. He was gonna win in my opinion anyway. But it starts off. The start off is like a lot of other people coming out. This guy Pleasure P, who I really didn't know about, and then later on he complains. Uh, Pleasure P complains that he didn't get to do all his songs. It's like I did this song, I did that song. He did a little bit of the Pretty Ricky song. It's like that he wrote "Grind with Me." That's one of the groups I was really expecting to come out there, Pretty Ricky, because they only had that one hit, but it was a big hit back then in that era that I'm talking about. But it's like, dude, this ain't about you. Amorion and Mario, they the main show. Why you try to act like this is about you? Same with Ray J. Yeah. Same with Ray J. Ray J comes out there, does a horrible version of One Wish. Now, Lisa and I would disagree on this. To me, One Wish is one of the best songs ever made. I like that song. I feel like any of y'all guys out there that ever been in love with a girl that she not really in love with you, and it's kind of unrequited love, oh, one-sided love, it's a good song for that. You know what I mean? But let's just face it. Let's be honest. When it comes to Ray J, Ray J is known for being uh, he's famous because of who's he's related to or who's he's connected to. Most people only know Ray J as one, Brandy's brother, and two, um, as the guy who made Kim Kardashian famous by sleeping, by doing a sex video with her back in the day. He had that reality show and all that. Lisa saying she liked the song, but the singing is off. Yeah, well, I mean, nobody could accuse Ray J ever being the greatest singer. I mean, but like his performance was totally whack and trash. But the meat and potatoes of it, the gist of it with Omarion and Mario, Mario won this one. Even to the point where Mario is singing a song and Omarion is just, he lays on the ground and it's like he's laying flat because he already known that he lost the verses, man. Like you lost the battle right there, bro. You know what I mean? It's over. This like he surrendered. You know what I mean? And then he comes out in another scene and he's eating a watermelon. Like, and a lot of people on Twitter don't like the whole watermelon thing because you know it's a different era and people you're like, what the hell are you doing? But Omarion, he just seemed lost out there, and I think it was part of the reason was because he was part of B2K and he's more used to a group dynamic where you could just tag out to another person, and Mario is used to like he's used to being there on time, as a solo artist. It's easier to do it. It's easier to do, yeah, on Melon. Lisa said they call him on Melon, but it's easier to do it when you're out there with somebody else and you're out there with a group. But it just seemed like a lot of times with these verses, like people come there unprepared. Like you know what you're up against, and you know that you have to be on your P's and Q's. You have to treat it like it's a battle out there. You know what I'm saying? You can't take your opponent for granted. I think that's what Omarion did. He took Mario for granted. He slept on Mario, which I don't really get because, again, like I said, when they was both out, I was more of a fan of Mario. So if you would have asked me before the verses went down, who's gonna win, I would have said Mario to begin with, just like with the Locks and Dipset. But so far, with all the verses they've done, this one is besides the Locks and Dipset one. This one is the most one-sided. It was like more Omarion did not prepare for this versus at all. It's like you came in there not ready to go to battle, bro. Like you came in there unprepared. You came in there as a guy, you came in there with a knife to a gunfight. You know what I'm saying? You came in there like, fuck it, just doing anything. I think his excuse was he couldn't hear. Well, that's a lame excuse, Lisa. You gotta go in there. When you go into verses, you gotta remember people, kids, young kids that wasn't around at this time are watching these verses with their moms and their dads, and they're discovering you for the first time. So you got to go in there ready to impress. You got to go in there ready to turn heads, ready to make the next generation of kids that never heard your music before want to hear your music. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these artists are artists that these kids never seen. They heard about through their moms and dads. They heard their moms and dads playing the songs when they're cleaning the house on Saturday or whatever, but they never really seen them perform. You know what I mean? You heard about them, but you never seen them. So when they're watching these verses with their moms and dads, you know, you, you got to be able to turn, make these kids say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna download this guy on Spotify. He's great or she's great. What I mean? You got to be able to impress. You got to come with your A game. You don't come with your A game, then they're gonna say, I don't care what mom and dad talking about. This guy is lame. What I mean? This guy sucks. And Lisa is saying you got to know how to sing live, not just over a record. And yes, that's very true, Lisa. That is very true. And that is why I think a lot of people don't like watching these verses, especially okay, like when they started doing it in the beginning, when it was just like DMX and Snoop in a studio or whatever, that was all right. You don't really, your voice don't really got to carry. But when Triller bought it, and then they started making it like me and Lisa, we talked about this before. When they started really making it like a boxing match, or a wrestling match, or a real like sports extravaganza thing. Okay, now you're in an arena. Now you got a group full of people there. Now your voice got to carry. You know what I'm saying? Your voice got to carry to the person all the way in the back that has in the cheap seats in the bleachers, and they got to be able to hear what you're saying, and they got to be able to hear it clearly. One of the things that why people don't like modern music is because they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to make their voice carry loud. You know what I mean? They're used to sounding good on records, all polished up real nicely, but they're not used to having their voices carry live. You know what I mean? So that that puts people like Omarion at a disadvantage. Because here's the way I'm looking at it. If I never seen Omarion before, I'm like, yo, I'm never gonna buy a ticket to see this guy perform because this guy sucks live. He's running out of breath. He's tired. He looks fatigued. He looks in great shape as far as his look. They get their look down. They get their look down. They get their physique down, right? But they don't get their breath control down, and that's big when you're in music because like that's why nobody likes to see rappers live. Nobody really likes to see rappers live because you ever notice, and these are not rappers though, these are R&B singers, but still the point still is valid in a sense. But you ever notice that when you see a rap concert, people gotta help the rapper sing his own song. You know what I mean? Like he got a hype man, and he's like going over to the hype man. He's singing uh, like let's say just say for example, Fat Joe, "What's Love?" That verse. You get me aroused when you look in my eyes, and then the next guy is saying the word eyes, and the other guy is saying the next verse, and the next verse, and they got to tag out and carry. Somebody got to carry them. They can't do it completely on their own. With Mario, or they throw it to the audience. They try to get the audience involved, and the audience helps them along because they know the words. With Mario, you didn't see none of that. And plus, Mario came with like background dances and everything. Mario came completely prepared, and I think it had a lot to do with, in my opinion, how Mario was perceived previously to this. A lot of people perceive Mario as a dude that was like a one-hit wonder or a two-hit wonder, and then he just went away. One thing I learned from the Vlad TV interview, and I kind of knew somewhat about his, um, yeah, the audience was singing with Mario too. You're right, Lisa, but he wasn't throwing to them. See, when you're throwing to them, that's an indicator that you don't know your own song. You know what I mean? Like you continuously, they were singing along with him, but my point is, he wasn't getting out of breath. He wasn't looking tired. He wasn't looking fatigued. I know you know what I'm talking about. There's tons of stuff like all the rap verses. If you go back and look at them, all the rappers they do that. They throw it to the audience. They know half the words. They don't even know the words to their own song, and it's like how you recorded this song, bro, and you don't even know the words to your own song. You know what I mean? Like you had zero rehearsal. You had zero preparation for this. You know, and like you're running out of breath and everything. Mario came with dancers. He came prepared. He came with um. He just came ready for battle. And one of the reasons why, and I put this in uh the notes that I did on this versus one of the reasons I think that is because again how he's perceived. Perception is a huge thing when it comes to things like this. A lot of a lot of people before this versus would have perceived not me and not Lisa because I was one of her um, favorite artists, Mario, but a lot of people would have perceived Mario as being a one hit wonder or a two hit wonder. You know what I mean? Because he came out with it with um, uh, just a friend, which was a novelty song. He basically gave Biz Markie new life. Our generation discovered Biz Markie's song through his song, because again, just like what I was saying about with these kids now, they're hearing about these verses. It was like that with us. We would hear just a friend Biz Markie's version from, say, not a really a parent, but like an older sister or brother or whatever. And we didn't really know that song, but we got reintroduced to that song through the Mario song. That was kind of a novelty song. Um, you Should Let Me Love You was an even bigger hit. It was one of the biggest songs ever in 2004, 2005, which was a very hard era for an R&B singer like him to be involved in because that was when that was when 2004, 2005 was when Usher was out. Usher was like killing it in the game, and every other song on the radio at that time was an Usher song. Um, and Mario kind of, they kind of compete in the same category, kind of. But You Should Let Me Love You is one of the best songs ever. And then How Did I Breathe was not such a big song, you know what I mean? But it was still a good song, but it wasn't such a big hit. And then Mario just disappeared from the scene. And the Vlad TV interview goes into a little bit of why that is. You know what I mean? Some of his, yeah, Neo was behind a lot of stuff. Neo wrote half of Usher's second album or third album. Um, uh, the Confessions album. He wrote most of that, and that's the album I'm talking about. And see, you always gonna have that one person though, that one asshole that while this versus was going on Twitter, everybody was like, "Oh, yeah, well, these guys are good, but Usher had the best album ever." Doing some Kanye shit, Kanye West shit. Usher had the best album ever in 2004, 2005. Yeah, but Usher not in this shit, so why are we even talking about, dude? You know? But um, Mario kind of disappeared from the scene after 2005. You know what I mean? And a lot of people was like, "Oh yeah, he just fell off. He's whack now. You know, whatever." But it was because he had a lot of personal problems with his mom, and the Vlad TV interview really goes into it. And I learned a lot from this interview. But he's showing you that if he didn't have, he's showing you in the verses though, if he didn't have these personal problems, Duke would have been a mega star. Man, Duke would have been as big, if not bigger, than Usher and Neo because he was just a great performer. He just had the energy. He just a great live performer. Unfortunate what happened. Had that not happened, he had the talent. Um, Omarion didn't have the talent. I think Omarion, uh, he was good in the group, sort of like Marquise Houston in a way. He's good in the group, you know what I mean? But on his own, he was showing you on that verses he wasn't no he didn't have what it takes. You know what I mean? Uh, these other guys, Bobby Valentino, Pleasure P, these guys were one hit wonders. One guy that I missed out on, and I guess because he really wasn't that era, because um, he came out like uh, 2008, 9, around there, was Jay Holiday. You know, you know, Jay Holiday wasn't there. He should have been there. Um, you know, the, why wasn't he there? You know what I mean? Jeremiah was there. I didn't see Jeremiah. Lisa pointed him out to me. But yeah, this was a good era. You know what I mean? This is the era I love. Lloyd, yeah, Lloyd. Yo, Southside, that was my shit. But Lloyd fell off. Lloyd fell off though because he was affiliated with Murder Inc. And when 50 Cent, we talked about this in the Keisha Cole Ashanti versus interview. Lloyd fell off because he was affiliated with Ja Rule and Murder Inc. And when 50 Cent eviscerated everybody in Murder Inc. and literally destroyed everybody in Murder Inc.'s career because he destroyed Ja Rule. So if you was associated with Ja Rule by proxy, you was destroyed too. That's why people don't remember Lloyd. But Lloyd, he was good too. Um, I don't know about that. Lisa said Lloyd should have went against Mario. I don't know about that, Lisa, because can you name a Lloyd song that was in by itself? Okay, yeah, Southside with Ashanti, which is a song I love because that was like that was a parody of a movie that I love, uh, Bronx Tale in the video. Because remember, Irv Gotti used to always do this thing. Irv Gotti was obsessed with Italian American culture. Every video that Irv Gotti and them would do was like some Italian American movie. You know what I mean? He did Goodfellas, he did Bronx Tale, he did Grease. Like he would just remake that specific Italian American movie into hip hop and R&B context. And with Southside, he remade Bronx Tale shot by shot. Every single. I don't remember that song. You okay? So I remember him from being on Bedrock and from being on Southside, and that was about it. But yeah, I'll take your word for it, Lisa, because you're more into R&B than I am. So uh, I'll take your word for it that that was a good song. But yeah, um, Bobby Valentino, trash. You know what I mean? The next verses that everybody is calling for, especially after this verses, that would be a tribute to that era of R&B is Usher versus Chris Brown. You know what I mean? But I don't know because I never really liked Chris Brown. I was never a Chris Brown fan. You know what I mean? So even if it was, I wouldn't be watching that anyway. Tank, yo, nah, because the same guy that wrote those songs wrote a song for Tank. You know what I mean? He wrote songs for Mario. He wrote songs for Tank. Vlad did an interview. Vlad did an interview with the guy. Uh, uh, Yeah, yeah, I saw that part at least when he brought out Tank. Uh, Ta- Another guy, they were another uh guy. This versus was missing. That was part of this era. I Deserve is the only song I ever really liked from Tank, and that was a different era. You know what I mean? That was like 97, 98 ish, right? But another guy that um, they were missing from this. Jaheim. What about yo? Jaheim is part of this era, man. Jaheim. Remember that song he did with Next? Anything, anything, anything. Put your woman's first, just in case. Nah, I mean this is this era, man. Yeah, it was already long, at least. But I'm saying you bring out Pleasure P, you bring out Ray J. Okay, you can swap Ray J out for Jaheim. Like Jaheim had more hits than Ray J. Like you could have swapped Jaheim. I'm telling you, this era, early 2000s, from 2000 to 2005, that 5 year period in R&B, that was the last real breath of R&B. Besides the era that Neo had, like you could have swapped Bobby Valent. Like they was bringing out one hit wonders, my G. Like they was bringing out people that had like one song, and people whose song least was more famous than the person there. If I know the song and I know the man, then there's no point in bringing out the man. Just have one of the people that's featured out there sing that song for him. Look, they didn't bring out Bow Wow when Omarion did the song that he did with Bow Wow together. He just gave Bow Wow a shout out. And if anything, Bow Wow is more famous than freaking Pleasure P and Bobby Valentino or even Tank. You know what I mean? So if the song is more famous than the man, there's no point in bringing the man out if all people know is the song. Have somebody else do it. They do that in music all the time. Hell, Elvis built the whole career off of doing other people's songs, but that's another point entirely. I digress. But the point is, if the song is more famous than the man, just do the song and don't bother bringing the man out to waste space on stage. But if he got like two or three hits like Jaheim, and he really and his music is a soundtrack to a specific era that you're talking about, you might as well bring that man out instead of just acting like it didn't exist, right? So apparently, Omarion lost this versus just like he lost his baby mama to Little Fizz. He lost this versus to Mario. So he was completely killed. Mario just destroyed him. Yeah, yeah, but come on. I mean, really, like, so like, why put him? Okay, why accept this challenge? You know what I'm saying? Like, you what? Like, this is a real crazy era because this is an era like where dudes used to dance in Timberlands. You know what I mean? Uh, yeah, because he knew he had it in the bag. Lisa was saying that Mario was petty with his comments. He knew he had it in the bag. Like he knew he could win. You know what I mean? Like Mario seemed like a real humble dude, but at the same time, he got a lot of confidence, and he knew he had it in the bag. So if you know, if you know you got this, there's no point in being fake humble. You know what I'm saying? Like notice with a lot of the verses, a lot of the dudes that talk mad shit, they're the ones that they know they can't win. But this one of the really weird ones. This is not as weird as Keisha Cole versus Ashanti, and this is not as crazy as the 3 6 Mafia versus Bone Thugs one. But you know when they, especially when they did Bump Bump Bump, a lot of people wanted to see B2K come out there. You know what I mean? And that didn't happen. So this is gonna rank definitely as one of the more crazier ones, which is cool because they gotta add a little flavor to it, man. You know what I mean? Like be, two guys up there being too respectful and too polite and stuff. You know, it just gets boring. You know what I mean? Like you gotta add a little bit of drama, a little bit of spice to it, and you know they did a really good job. And like I said, I love this era because this I was late teens, early 20s during this era. Um, Especially really learning how to appreciate more R&B at this time because yeah, I saw it to the very end. They gave each other props. It goes to show you they got respect for each other. And I can even see them going. I can even see all these group of guys really going on tour with one another. You know, it's good to really see brothers really giving each other respect like that because we don't need drama in the community. It's all for fun. You know what I mean? It's to really celebrate nostalgic music and really to celebrate black culture and really to celebrate, us as a people. We don't need real drama. We don't need actual drama. Keep it positive, but keep it interesting at the same time. This era, I really love this era of music because, you know, it's the era when I was really becoming an adult at this time. And yeah, I figured that was. Um, and Mario, he was the man, just a friend. Fucking, I, you should let me love you, yo. I can still bump. You should let me love you to this day, and that shit is still a bop. You know what I mean? That shit still bangs. You know what I mean? Like so, and I'll never forget it. I had braids at this point. You know, I was really on my good looking shit at this point in my life. And watching this person and listening to these songs really brought back some good memories. So, you know what I mean? Thank you, Omarion and Mario, especially Mario, for this verses. It was a good one. And yeah, me too. Me too. Um, you know, and I look forward to them making more music, you know. This was like the R&B version of the Locks versus Dipset because, again, same era, but just R&B. And this was a cool era, you know what I mean? The '90s era, the 2000s, is a forgotten era because, like millennials, we always, when we talk about, when we be reminiscing and we talk about our greatest moments, we always talk about the '90s, but the 2000s and this era is slept on. You know, what I mean? I feel like this era, especially in R&B, especially for male R&B artists like these guys, this is a better era than the '90s. The '90s for male R&B artists wasn't that great. Especially single guys. You know what I mean? Like you had your Drew Kills, you had your Drew Hills, you had your Black Streets. You know what I mean? But the '90s for male R&B artists wasn't single guys wasn't great. It was more the groups and songs don't really stand out. You know, for some reason, late '90s, the single male R&B artist went away. You had them in the '80s, a lot of them, Michael Jackson, Prince, Bobby Brown, and everything. Then they kind of went away in the '90s, and in the 2000s era, this era when they reappeared, and they kind of went away again because yeah, especially with men. Women, Brandy's, the Monicas, the Aaliyahs. Um, Women were doing really good in R&B in the '90s, but men really weren't. I mean, Cisco's solo push in the '90s because he got tied to that thong song, and the thong song was such a big song he couldn't really follow it up. But even other than him, who else? Okay, Case. He had a couple of songs out there, and Usher, like that's when Usher was just starting when he had the My Way album. But who other than those three guys? And that was like really late in the '90s. We're talking about 1999, almost into the 2000s. Um, Male soloist in R&B was nowhere. It was all about groups. Your Jagged Edges, your Blackstreets, your Drew Hills, those guy groups. Um, Even in the white music, because of course, they copy everything we do. So, you know what I mean? Like there was no real male soloist really. The soloist went away, and then they came back in this era when you had Usher's. You had Usher. He came back when You Remind Me, and then he came out with the second album with Confessions. I mean, his third album with Confessions. Then you had Mario. Then you had Omarion went solo, and then you had Justin Timberlake crossover from pop to R&B. But now, and then Neo had his last breath, and I think his last breath was really um, like 2010 when he did that song with Mariah Carey, When Angels Cry. And then now, it's like you don't have the groups or the soloist. You don't really have R&B anymore. You know, yeah, boy and girl groups were the thing back then. Yeah, in both pop and R&B. Because R&B and urban music and black music sets the trend, and then pop music and rock music, Caucasian music follows it. You know what I mean? Sorry to say, don't want to offend anybody, but that's the truth. You know what I mean? That's been the case throughout American history. Urban music, uh, black music, R&B, hip hop set the trend, and rock and pop follows whatever we're doing. They'll do something. They do it after. You know, but so we're not doing the we're not doing the male soloist or the female soloist anymore. They're not doing it either. Yeah, yeah. You know, when you watch these verses and you are a fan of even if you're Hispanic like I am, you know what I mean, or whatever race you are, if you're a fan of this type of music, urban music, R&B, hip hop, reggae, shit, stuff like that, you watch it, you watch these verses, and you get happy because you remember the times you grew up and your memories attached to it. But at the same time, you get sad because it doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like Lisa's saying right now, we have Beyonce and Drake crossing over into house music. You get sad because it's not there anymore. You know what I mean? Urban music, urban musicians, soloists, male, female, whatever, rap, R&B. You know what I mean? they've lost their way. They're trying to be something that they're not. You know, what I mean, instead of being the trendsetters that they were in the '60s and '70s and '80s and '90s and 2000s, now they're trying to follow other people's lead, and it's not working out. But, you know, and when we've been doing our own thing, we made others want to be like us. Now we're trying to be like them, and they don't even want to be like them anymore. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean. Just keep that in mind, and it makes you sad when you watch these verses. Sometimes, even though you enjoy it, you realize that it's never going to be that good again. So it makes you happy but sad at the same time. It's sort of like in movies when you are a fan of real movies that are not comic book movies or speculative fiction or sci-fi, and then you watch uh, the and then you watch like these old movies that are actual real movies that are movies made for grown-ups and adults, and you're like, damn, can we just bring movies back again? Who do I want to see in the next verses? Um, I would love to see Jaheim. I would love to see. Uh, Damn, there's so many of them. Which I would love to see Blackstreet, uh, even Drew Hill, perhaps, because again, the '90s, they had all those groups. TLC, of course. Destiny TLC probably never gonna happen. Destiny's Child probably never gonna happen, but that'd be cool. Something reggae-ish, and I know they did a reggae with Beanie Man and Buju. I think it was Buju Banton, but my era of reggae, what I love in reggae, and I mentioned this in the nostalgia video for the 2000s. My era from reggae that was really into reggae. I used to have a lot of West Indian friends, and I used to sometimes go to some of their parties. You know, when I really got into soca and reggae in college, go to these parties, and that was the era of like the Sean Pauls, when he did Get Busy and stuff. And me and Lisa, we used to go to this dance program, and a lot of people were into that kind of reggae stuff. Uh, that was the first really reggae that I ever really got into and bought with the Sean Paul stuff. Uh, so yeah, TLC again probably never gonna happen. I would love to see, like I said, Blackstreet. Uh, because come on, no diggity. Like again, when our parents used to listen to these old music, and you'd be like, "Well, man, all you do is listen to music and a reggaeton, but yeah, that would be great." Um, Shout out to Karina Diaz on Facebook. She really got me and Lisa both into a lot of reggaeton music from like that era too, because reggaeton is linked to uh, uh, that era, like 2004, 2005, Daddy Yankee, Oye Mi Canto, the Lean Back remix. It was just big at that time. Um, you know, but like I said, when we was, I would anyway sit down with our parents and our grandparents, and they would listen to their old records, and we'd be like, "Damn, he just goes on and on." Like one song comes on, he talks about every single memory he ever had with this one or she, he ever had, or she or he or she ever had with this one song. He goes on and on and forever about it. Like, can't you just shut up and let this song play? But think about it. That's how we are right now as adults. You know what I mean? We have some Little John and the East Side Boy. I don't know if they did a versus yet, but Little John and the East Side Boys, Yin Yang Twins, Get Low. You know what I mean? The Whisper song. Uh, you know what I mean? This era to me, like I said, what a better era. Shaggy, it wasn't me, man. I'm just uh um man. I'm man because who wasn't going around saying okay, yeah, you know what I mean? Like that crunk era, man. That era makes me smile, man. You know what I mean? Mario's tied into that. I don't know. Somebody from Atlanta. What about no, they only have but see a lot of these crunk artists though, unfortunately, like they were one hit wonders like Bone Crusher. Remember, I ain't scared. I ain't never scared. Well, I ain't never scared. Remember that shit? I ain't never scared. The fat dude. Yeah. I ain't never scared. What? I ain't never scared. um, man, just thinking about these songs really, really brings back so many memories, yo. I say about 2 years, Lisa. Um, I had a really close group of friends at that time. That I used to really hang out with. Shout out to my friend, my homie Ra. Shout out to him on Facebook. A really close group of friends that uh, that I used to hang out with. That uh, they used to remember that song, "Knock if you buck, boy, knock if you buck." Man, yo, like I don't know, I get really emotional when I think of these old songs. Remember that if Blackstreet does a song, does a versus, "Can't Don't Leave Me Girl," that Lisa came out like in 97, 98. Um, uh, that it was sort of like the "I Am Mad at Your" video with that Tupac did around the same time, and they was all dressed, all the Blackstreet members, all in all white. I used to love that song. You know, like you said, reggaeton, that era, the Don Omar reggaeton Latino, that'd be cool. You know, all that, man. Yo, man, yeah, these songs, man. I don't know. Maybe me and Lisa know all the people that I grew up with just getting a little bit too old. But yo, these songs, this R&B, this hip hop, you know what I mean? Like reggaeton. We can remember where we was when we heard these songs, man. We can remember who we was with when we heard these songs. You know what I mean? So music has that ability. You know, it could trigger the memories in you. It could trigger. Um, well, if Omarion had put in a better performance, I'd have probably given it a seven, a 10, Lisa. But because he did a shitty performance, I got to say a 7 or an 8. How about you? See, why are yo? This is off topic, but I'm gonna just say it right now. Why R. Kelly got to be such a pedophile and go to jail for all these years? You know what I'm saying? Like, why he got to be, why he got to be that? You know what I'm saying? Because if he wasn't that, if he was a regular person and he didn't do what he did, crazy, heinous crimes that of course he deserves to be locked up for, he could have been on that versus R. Kelly, who made the '90s and the 2000s more popping than R. Kelly, my boy. Like, R. Kelly was that dude in the '90s and the 2000s, this era that we're talking about. He has so many hits, but because he did what he did and he's locked up forever now, you know, because like you're asking me this, Lise, and I'm thinking, is one name that pops up in my mind when it comes to this era, and it's his name, and he can never do it. You know what I'm saying? Because of his own stupidity. You know what I mean? Like Usher. Okay, you can't get R. Kelly. You gotta get Usher then. He's the only logical answer. But who would Usher go against? Chris Brown? I don't know. I don't. I don't. I don't know. Chris Brown. I don't know. Maybe it's me because I was never a Chris Brown fan. You know, what I mean? Like even when everybody was people was defending him or people was against him. Like when the whole Rihanna shit went down in like 2010, I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, I guess I'm defending him or whatever. You know, I mean, yo, but again, at least say he could do it through his laptop, like in jail. Hey, yo, in the prison genre on YouTube, it be having people doing phone interviews from jail. That one dude, Louis Rosado, Blue Boy, they killed Larry Davis. He had like 4 interviews in jail, so R. Kelly could do it. And if anything, DJ Vlad will hook it up because DJ Vlad done did interviews with motherfuckers, people that been in jail, in jail. He was the one that did one of the Blue Boy interviews. You know what I'm saying? So Vlad will hook it up. You know what I mean? If R. Kelly ever decides to do a versus, Vlad will co-host it. He'll get a connection somehow. Vlad's the police. He knows these people, right? You know, you know, you know. But seriously though, like Usher, again, like I guess y'all want Chris Brown. I don't know. I don't know. At least to me, Chris Brown was never Tyrese. Why we never been on there? Tyrese, Sweet Lady, fucking. Um, how you gonna act like that and all that? How you gonna act like that, man? Yo, that's the anthem right there. Tyrese got it. How come he wasn't in the verses yet? Ti, well, no, Ti already did it. Tyrese and Joe. How can I forget Joe? How can I forget Joe? Please, thank you for reminding me. If anybody gonna remind me, it gotta be you, at least, because I want to know. You already know. Joe, man. Lisa already knows. I want to know. I want to know if Joe does a versus, things your man won't do. The Nutty Professor soundtrack, which I didn't even know was from the Nutty Professor soundtrack when the song was out. Um, just a whole bunch of songs. Of course, I don't want to be a player no more. Yeah, Tyrese and Joe, man. What about Keith Sweat? There's somebody. There's somebody. Keith Montel Jordan. But yeah, Joe definitely got to be up in there. Oh, Keith Sweat already did one. Damn, I missed it then. How about how about this one? This is a funny one. Lil Bow Wow versus Little Romeo. The two little kids. The two little yo. If you was around, like people laugh at the Little Bow Wow shit, but if you was around in 1998, 1997, don't front. A lot of girls that was younger than you had that album. His, his first one. You know, the Beware of Dogs. The Beware of Dog. A lot of girls had that album. You know what I mean? Like people that I knew. Lauren Hill. Yo, man, I'm so random right now. Lauren Hill got to do a verses, man. Did she already do one? I don't know because I haven't watched them all. She got to do one, man. I listen to her some shit on Spotify. Man, if she would have had all them kids and she would have just kept doing music, she would have killed it, man. She would have killed it. But yeah, man, the list goes on and on. So many of them that that I would love to see. But obviously, Usher is an obvious answer. Usher, Marquise Houston. Yeah, I just seen uh, again another side note. I just yeah, that's true. Nobody does what she did. Nobody um nobody. I just Marquise Houston is a off topic thing. I just seen this movie Stepmother with Marquise Houston and Erica Mena from Love and Hip Hop. Yo, y'all gotta check this movie out on I think it's Tubi. Right, yo, this movie is crazy. Like Marquis Houston is married to this Erica Mena's character, and Erica Mena's character is just crazy in this freaking movie, man. Yo, check this shit out. But yeah, my top two is probably Tyrese and Usher. I would love to see Jaheim. I would love to see in this. A lot of them, but overall, yeah, I give this a 6 and 7. I wish Omarion would have tried harder, or at least brought out B2K. But again, I'll put the Mario interview and parts of the Mario interview in the description box. Um, Omarion was just trying to show out with the watermelon shit, being extra. What about Luda? Oh no, Luda already did it. Okay, yeah, Luda did it already. Lisa says Lauren Hill, TLC, Queen Latifah, Buster Rhymes. Yeah, Missy Elliott. Man, if it was up to me, I'd have them all do. I had just a concert of '90s and early 2000s music, and just wild out and listen to it like 5 hours straight of just what I consider to be classics. You know, we had it so good back in the day that we had a sensory overload. We had a dopamine overload to the point where it was so good back then that we stopped listening to music completely because we knew it could never be that good ever again. It was so good that we couldn't touch it. It reached such a level that we couldn't touch it. It was kind of like basketball in the 90s. Basketball in the 90s was still good. So many big names that, you know, ratings and stuff never got to be that high. You know, now, even though you have a lot of talent right now, like Kevin Durant, well, LeBron James and stuff, and Steph Curry, you know, you don't have those big names that really stand out. We got so spoiled that the people now can't even reach that level. But you know what it is there's no diversity in music. Everybody want to sound the same. You know, nobody's afraid to be different. Nobody's afraid to stand out. Nobody's afraid to do something different. Like I can't even turn on the radio right now. I turn on the radio right now, and it's just like, man, it shit just sucks, man. And first of all, another thing, and it's a huge complaint when it comes to music now. I can't understand what they're saying. You know, like, yo, they're speaking another language. You know what I'm saying? And it's not English or it's not any other recorded language. It's just gibberish. You know, it's just nonsense. You know, and another side note, and this is about R&B because this is um, R&B artists from nowadays that impress me that I just learned something about from an interview that I just watched like a couple of days ago, and that's LMA. How did I not know LMA was British? Like, yo, she did this one interview, and I'm listening to her talk, and I'm like, yo, she's British. Like, she busts out this British. How come I never knew that, man? Yo, that's crazy. Like, she busts out a pure British accent. Like, how, how these actors and performers that be British, how they be like, how you could just, and this always bugged me out about the Beatles too, how you could just sing a song or do a movie like Idris Elba or Delroy Lindo or whatever, and I don't even know you're British, and all of a sudden when you start talking, you got a completely different accent. Crazy. Well, I guess that's the power of performance. Yeah, um, like yeah, Lisa's right because British people hide their accent really good. Yeah, but like okay, one thing I'm mad about though is how come it doesn't work that way good for us. Like I like a British accent. I would like to have a British accent. You know, I wish I had a British accent. But if I try to do a British accent in a movie or a song, especially singing a song, like a whole song, not only do I have to sing or rap, I have to do an accent at the same time. Pretty tough, right? If I try to do that, I'll completely suck. These people, especially the singers, they're not really performers. They don't know how to act really. Like I could get okay, Delroy Lindo, Idris Elba, John Boyega. I can understand them. You know what I mean? Like, um, because they're actors. But to sing a song and and completely mask an accent is really weird. But yeah, I didn't know LMA was British, but I did like Boot Up anyway. Um, yeah, so overall, this was a pretty good versus. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, Lisa, for contributing. Love you guys. Speaking of British, I'll be doing a video later on the whole Boris Johnson. That's a good segue. The whole Boris Johnson thing, resigning as the Prime Minister of Britain, Trump's British half brother, as I call him, the guy knew, who never met a comb he liked or never combed his hair in his life. Um, Peace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Love you.